Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and we're in studio today with Neil Berger and Kevin Hart, here to talk about The Upside. Yeah.
I don't understand why people don't clap. Like, you guys know I come from a stand-up comedy background. We base everything off of the applause. I just never understand why they just look at us, Neil. And
that's what I had to do when I was directing him after each line.
yes. I need that.
Yes,
he got very angry.
Sorry, that wasn't a good MC intro.
No. Gratification.
You'll see how I do it. Even that, even what he just said.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
It's the only way we ever got through it.
Hello. Excited to be here.
Hi. All right, so let's get to it. Okay. Kevin, first question goes to you.
Okay.
What about Del, the character you played, what were you attracted to in him?
What was I attracted to about the character Del?
Yeah.
The difference from anything that I've done. You know, Del gave me an opportunity to tap into a different level of acting on a big screen, and I felt that for the first time I was approaching a piece of material that was layered. You know, a guy that got to show emotion on different levels, you know, from heart, from anger to vulnerability. He was real. He was just the realest thing that I've read on page, where I didn't have to falsify or create or find to just have the funny. This was much more than funny. You know, it was the first solid, well-rounded individual that I got to take on from a material standpoint. So that's what attracted me the most.
You're known as somebody who's kind of a self-starter when it comes to your own career. So was this a calculated move, or are you heading towards more serious films?
Well, the conversation of the film had been around for quite some time. You know, when I saw that it was more serious and I saw it was going to happen, it was a priority. I know the names that were in the hat. When Neil signed on, I was well-versed on what he's done. We talked, we met. That conversation was a good conversation, and I could see where, you know, just people were excited about me wanting to do it, but apprehensive about the approach that I would take to the material. So the conversations that I had with Neil and Bryan beforehand were just about understanding where my head was, and I wanted them to gain security and knowing, like, I know what this movie can be, and I want it to be all of those things and more. And the only way to do that is to go in a completely different direction than I've ever went in before with my performance.
Yeah. And Neil, this is an adaptation of a French film. So how did you bring it into today our country's current climate? Right.
Well, I mean, in the basic sense, we were translating it to New York City. So there's similar concerns, but there's different ones as well, different sort of socioeconomic divides and things like that among people. But I thought that was why it was an important movie to do right now, because of what was going on politically and culturally in the country, people feeling so divided. And when I read the script, I thought, well, this is a perfect movie, just in this microcosm of these two men who kind of bridge the divide and find common ground. And I was like, well, what a great movie, and sort of a beautiful message of people finding common ground that maybe is translatable to, you know, the culture at large. So that's why I wanted to do it, and that's why I felt like it was important to do it now.
Were you concerned about kind of transforming or going beyond like basic stereotypes?
Well, you basically want to make the movie as honest as possible and as real as possible. And because the story had, for me, such an important message, I wanted to, and that was applicable to the real world, I wanted it to be real, real, real. And I wanted it to be honest. I wanted their performances to be honest. And I wanted, you know, Bryan is playing, you know, a person with a disability, to be as honest and respectful in that as well. And then even with Kevin's character, where he's from, you know, the world that he's coming out of, you know, again, to be as true as possible to that.
Yeah. And Kevin, a lot of this movie hinges on the chemistry between you and Bryan Cranston. Tell me what you like about Bryan Cranston.
Oh, Bryan's a great guy. On top of being a great guy, he's just an amazing actor. You know, the time and energy that he puts into his craft is seen. It's seen when you're on set with him. It's seen in his day-to-day approach to the material that he was given. So for me, outside of knowing how good of a guy he was, outside of hearing all the things that I heard about him before we got to set, before we got to work, when you get to see it firsthand, it's refreshing. When you get to see the personality that's within the artist be as vibrant as his was, it's the best thing ever, because there are no bad days. You know, every day is a good day because we're both coming to set with the attitude of making that day a great day, of not only getting the work done, but smiling while doing it, creating a fun, comfortable environment for everybody that was there on set. That's something that he takes pride in. It's something that I take pride in. So we shared that. So, you know, there was never those moments on set where people were tiptoeing on eggshells or like.
No, it was a great set, actually. Yes. It was a great crew and a great group of actors. It was actually, for me, it was one of the best experiences I'd had working with all these guys. So.
It's really,
but Bryan's a really generous actor as well,
very,
to the whole crew and to other actors as well, and to, you know, so he's a good pleasure to have around and then to watch him work.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really nice to see Bryan Cranston back in a comedy role again. So,
yeah, but he's a very funny guy, and not as funny as you, but yeah.
Thank you.
But he's a very good straight man. So, though he does have the one improv line really in the whole script is him saying when you're showering him and he says, "You're waterboarding," which he came up with like on the spot. The rest of the movie is very tightly controlled as far as so it's funny that Bryan has that, but you know he's very funny, but the movie is a comedy, but with real dramatic elements, and he brings such empathy and such honesty to the role, you know, that he also, he's funny, and in the movie's funny, but he breaks your heart, and so does he, which I think is so unusual.
You know, it's funny because when we say comedy, you know, it's like it's just a real performance with a real story.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the laughs that you are getting aren't fought and sought after laughs.
Right.
These are real moments that provide laughter because of how personable they are.
Right.
You know, me when I'm showering him and not knowing, you know, that I'm aggressive with the shower.
Comes out of character.
It comes out of character.
Yeah.
It's not
Nobody's being
find the
jokey.
Funny. It's not. We're not like, all right, Kevin, this is where we need some funny.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring it here. You know, that's not the case.
Yeah.
You know, me when I'm wiping his mouth aggressively when he's eating, it was character driven. The moment where we're watching the opera and I'm laughing and you know I can't believe what I'm seeing, it's character driven. So these moments that act as laugh out loud moments for the crowd that's watching are actually just real.
Well, they're really earned, basically,
really,
because they come out. They're built. You've become invested in these characters over the course of the movie. So then, when they do something, or they change their rhythm, or they say something funny, or whatever it is, it's just a real release, and it's really honest laughter, which is a pleasure to see, and pleasure to see him doing it. Yeah.
One of the moments that the audience that I was with responded to the most was your shower scene, Kevin. What was it like filming
I had my chest out.
Well, that's probably the jokiest thing in the movie, in a way.
It's me getting the monsoon.
Him naked.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that, which I don't know if we told you about at the time, in order to get that sort of monsoon, we had like 6 fire hoses loaded up, like full pressure above coming through something.
I remember because they were up there, like I could see them.
They were like,
before.
Kevin, don't look up.
Yeah, I was like, hey, you just showering?
How is that
how
a
we
shower?
shooting this? We don't have this. This is like a sprinkler thing coming out. So they had to really, really crank it up and make it believable. But it's a great scene. Yeah, great moment.
So your character plays a life auxiliary.
Yes.
Do you have a spiritual life auxiliary? Both of you?
Spiritual life auxiliary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so like having a spirit animal.
Yes, my wife. Yes.
Yeah, I would say the same.
My wife. At this point
it's really true.
in my life, 100% is my wife. Yes.
How important is it for compassion for a human being? I mean, that's what the story is really about. Finding compassion.
Well, there's a lot of elements that are, essential for a human being, but I think certainly that's one of them, and that's the important thing to, it's one thing, your individual growth, but it's another thing is how you work in a community, you know, and how we all work in a community, and how we all, you know, get along or don't get along. And certainly one of the main elements of that is to have compassion and to have respect. And to me, that's what the movie is about, these small acts of respect and compassion between these men, and how that, you know, how they grow as, you know, as people because of that, because of the generosity of the other person.
I mean, look, you don't get to the point of respect without reaching that level of compassion, emotion. And I think the journey that they take us on is one where you're fighting through levels. You're fighting through tiers and levels to ultimately get to the place of, I respect you and your opinion and what you've done, but more importantly, I respect you more for helping me get to this space that I'm now at. That to me is the best thing, because it's accidental. They didn't sign up for the relationship that they end up walking out of this film with. They didn't sign up and say, I want to be your friend, you're going to be my friend. It was completely accidental. And to get to a place of love between these two guys, it was hard fought. It was hard fought, well deserved, which is where the word
earned. They discover it and they earn it, you know.
Exactly.
So, but they have to give of them. They have to sacrifice themselves and their individuality in a certain way to then, you know, to give to the other person. You know, you can't have it all. You can't. You know, that's what they both learn in a certain way.
Last question: if you had your own Philip in your life and you wanted to pitch him for some seed money, what would your big idea be?
My big idea. Oh man, I've had so many failed ones. I can just pull from some of the real ones that I've had in life.
Absolutely.
Ping flag. What's that, Kev? Well, don't think ping pong. Think of flag. So the ball gets wrapped up into the flag. No, I would say, God, what would I pitch him on? You know, I think if I really had to pitch somebody on something, it would have to be with just recreating comedy. You know, I love that I constantly recreate and try to put a new face on what stand-up comedy can look like from a live performance. So, you know, what is the version of that can involve the masses that are in the world of comedy? You know, what is the new version / face of the Comic View Def Jam era look like? What's that new thing? That would be my
Do you know what the future of comedy is?
Well, I hope so. I got a Laugh Out Loud network where I'm investing in it. So I hope I'm on to something. If not, I'm wasting my time. If not, this thing is going down fast. So hopefully I'm on the right track with Laugh Out Loud.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your question. Yeah.